Welcome back to BLOCKTV. I'm Ron Friedman. The recent rise in the price of Bitcoin could not have come at a better time for the crypto community in general, but for our next guest, the renewed interest in Bitcoin probably felt like a godsend. We're delighted to be joined from Los Angeles today by Robert Allen. He's the executive producer of the new animated web series, Bitcoin and Friends. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here, Ron. Thanks for having me.
So the first episode aired last week. It's gained 30,000 views already. According to the comments on YouTube, it's already a cult hit, and very positive reviews among the viewers and commentators on social media. It's a dark humor animated show. It's set in dystopian present or near future, revolves around the character of Bitcoin himself, and features takes on some of the well-known players in the crypto sphere. It's sprinkled with pop culture and crypto culture references. It's a must-see, basically, for anybody who's in the community and doesn't shy away from some dirty humor. We want to watch a short scene, and let's take it up from there, okay? Let's roll.
Great.
Guys, I don't know what any of this is. I just want to find my dad.
Don't stress. His orange ass tends to say whatever the fuck is on his mind.
Well, that's the whole point of a decentralized public ledger. They don't have the capabilities of lying.
Does he look like a nerd?
Absolutely.
Point to the nearest versions. Shit, B, we gonna have a lot of fun.
Sorry, Vitalik. I can't help it.
I think I'm in love with you.
Can you help me find my dad, nerd?
Would you mind? Playboy's been depressed since I found his ass wandering the streets.
Absolutely. This is the most beautiful thing I've seen since the Budcraft Ice Throne expansions came out. Looks like the public repository was posted on Thorthforge.
Is that his name up in the corner? You know, the one I can totally pronounce, but I choose not to because I want to hear you say it?
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Anyone got a phone book?
No need. Dorian Nakamoto, born Dorian Satoshi Nakamoto, 1954.
Shit, man, we need to work together sometime.
555 West Chester Avenue.
Who's up for a road trip?
I have to meet this man.
Load up the versions.
So that was a short scene out of the last episode of Bitcoin and Friends. As you could even see in there, we have a character of Vitalik Buterin. We have the iconic unicorn poster in the background. We've got Bitcoin himself and their friends. Robert, how did this project come about?
Well, before I answer that, one real quick point. It actually is supposed to take place in 2009 at the beginning of the Bitcoin network. So we're actually planning to chronicle the history of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and related information with the show. So that's really the
okay.
The
all right. So thanks for that
it's,
clarification. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So this
yeah.
is
So the scene you were just showing there is Bitcoin actually being created by Satoshi, and so that's when the Genesis block is created and so on. And we take it from there. This is a project that's been kind of percolating for maybe a year and a half. And then I would say about roughly a year ago is when we really started working on it, writing and coming up with the characters. I've been working very closely with Chris, the director and writer of the show. He's been working on it, like I said, for about a year. And we've just been bringing more people on. As it's become more and more real and as we fleshed out the details and so on.
So we saw episode 1. Episode 2 is coming up in the next coming days?
It's probably going to take a little bit of time. We self-financed the first episode, and it was quite a bit of money. So we have the funds to continue pushing forward, but we're really hoping that we're going to get support from the community financially and otherwise. And so far, actually, it's really been a tremendous outpouring of interest and offers to help. We have several different folks working on different translations. So we'll have, closed captioning in a bunch of different languages, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Japanese, and Russian, I think, are all in the works right now. And we've received some donations. We're going to hope that we'll see a lot more in the coming days, but it's been a really good start, a refreshing feeling like we've actually built something and created something rather that people seem to be really enjoying. And, we hope that we can continue to do that.
That's amazing. We're already looking forward to the next episode now. So what's your personal relationship with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrencies? I mean, is this a work of love?
Yeah, for sure. I've been in the space since 2013, running a startup of my own for a couple of years now. And then Chris, the director, has also been in the space for about the same time. This isn't common knowledge, but he's actually my younger brother. So cool. We've known each other for a few years.
But obviously, I mean, you're familiar. I mean, you can tell by watching. You're familiar with the characters. You're familiar with all the technology side. There's even a pretty good attempt at explaining how Bitcoin works. For the layman. It's, like I said, it's sprinkled with pop culture references and references that people that are in this sphere will get. Right. Talk to me a bit about the creative process here.
Sure. So it's really important that, as we have been creating this, we wanted to make it a product that would be of interest to, kind of diehard crypto fanatics like ourselves. Bitcoin has really been my obsession, and most of my energy has been directed into learning and working in this space since 2013. So it's really exciting just on a personal level to see something like this, be created, because it's kind of exactly what I would love to see if I just was walking along and saw a video. This is what I would want to watch. So I'm thrilled about that. So we wanted to, hit on some of those inside jokes and really be built with a lot of love and care. But at the same time, we want it to be something that hopefully can bring in a lot of people from all over who maybe have a little bit of interest in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and they want to learn about it, but it can be a little overwhelming and a little bit discouraging sometimes for people who are just getting involved. So maybe this will be a fun way for people to get accustomed to some of the terminology and some of how the technology works. Because I think before people can really start using something in a global sense, we all have to be comfortable with using that technology. And so there's a learning curve there, and it's going to take time. Of course, there are a lot of parallels already with the internet and the rise of the internet and the kind of that adoption cycle. We've seen that play out before. And so we think this is really important to make it a little bit more accessible and interesting, hopefully, to people who are not quite so maybe tech focused.
And then, why did you choose animation? I mean, you can feel inspiration. I don't know, Rick and Morty, South Park, maybe Final Space. Yeah. Why did you go down that path?
That's a great question. So, I think, well, as you just stated, there's some really great shows there, Rick and Morty, South Park, and so on, that we definitely have been inspired by. I think animation is amazing in that it gives you the really ability to create sets and experiences and worlds that are, if you were to film them in a traditional sense, would be very expensive to film. So it really opens up a lot of storytelling potential for quite a bit less money, and that's really important because we want this to be a big story. And we also think it just, if you want to personify Bitcoin, the network, as a character, as we've done, that would be very hard to do in a live action show. I'm not sure really, it would either be creepy or I mean, it would be high. It would be very, very, very expensive. Right. So, this just seemed like a natural marriage of cartoons and crypto just seemed to us to be natural.
And tell me now, when you came up with the idea, were you aiming to go, we have some familiar figures, maybe we'll see more in episodes to come. You're taking freely from whatever's around, so to speak?
Well, I think the story of cryptocurrency is already so full of interesting people and events that it's really making writing this story pretty easy. I think there's plenty of kind of food for joke material there.
Sure,
and
conspiracies,
it's just
jokes,
yeah, yeah,
a bit of
memes.
anarchy.
Yeah, there's a lot of memes. There's a lot of interesting culture that's already just there, kind of there waiting to be talked about and retold even. Because I do think Bitcoin is going to be, as it's, we kind of talk about at the end of this episode, Bitcoin is a revolutionary technology that's going to change humanity. I really do believe that. It's going to change how we operate, how we transact, how we use money, how we use banks, and hopefully how we interact together. And so, I think some of those kind of libertarian anarchist ideals need to be talked about because they're part of the story of Bitcoin, and they're part of the reason for it to exist. And so I think it's important for us to talk about that, and that's what we want to do. We want to just delve into some of these topics, make it interesting and fun, and also laugh at ourselves, laugh at people in the industry and outside of the industry. And
it seems like you're not shying away from maybe the controversial or the difficult aspects of it.
Sure.
There's obviously lots of criticism in traditional financial world and just in general about Bitcoin's potential, maybe some of the crypto community's obsessions and peeves, and you tackle all those in the show. At least that's what we saw in the first episode. So a lot of fun. Tell me now the decision, and I'm guessing it's a conscious one, that you're going for an adult audience, even though it's animation. Right. It's adult subject matter, adult humor. This is not a kids show.
Right, for sure. Yeah, that's a good disclaimer that should be put out there for everyone to hear. We wanted to make a show, as I mentioned earlier, that could somewhat educate and bring people in to learning about this technology. And we think not that children can't learn about it either, and there's definitely room for people to approach that market, really. But we do think that an adult market and a market for children, those are two different markets. They have a different approach in terms of how you would create that content and how you would put it out there and what you can say and can't say. And we wanted to create something, again, maybe this is, like I said earlier, perhaps selfish, but we wanted to create a show that we would actually enjoy watching. And so I guess we have, a little raunchier taste of humor perhaps in some people, but that's okay. There's a certain market for what we're making.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to read out just some of the top responses here. I got the chills at the end from what Hal said. This is my favorite tune till Rick and Morty comes back. This will be a piece of history in a few decades. All right, how about this one? Legend has it that this video triggered the great 2019 bull run. What have you been feeling in terms of audience response?
I'm glad you brought up the last tweet because it's obviously probably a coincidence, but it's pretty fun to see that this recent rally coincided pretty nicely with the release of that video.
Absolutely.
So who knows? Maybe we did provide a small bump. But yeah, again, as I said earlier, we're just overwhelmed with the amount of support we've been receiving. It really feels genuine. It feels like we're really building an audience right away here of people that want us to do more. And I think regardless of what kind of business or entertainment or whatever it is that you're creating, if you're building or making something, it's super important to find if you actually have a market for what you're building and creating. And I think we've at least seen the beginnings of what looks like it could be a big audience, and that's really exciting for us because obviously we don't want to make something that no one watches. That's a waste of our time and not a good business proposition.
Right. No. Absolutely. Again, the next episode it's a matter of have you already created all the entire series and just waiting to publish it, or are you still working on the future episodes?
So the first season is written, but we're still working on the animations and the performances and putting it all together. And it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's expensive, and it's a pretty time-consuming process because we really have tried to put a lot of love and care and attention into this. And so we're going to make sure that we take enough time that when we release something, we're at least proud enough to put it out there. And, there's of course little things here and there that we can fix even in the first episode. Eventually we'll probably release a slightly revised version because we're kind of perfectionistic. But, we feel good about that first episode as an entry. And, if you've ever seen the first episode of South Park, it's pretty rough, not one of their best episodes in my opinion. And so I guess what I'm saying is I hope that people will see, even if they're not totally sold in the show, which I think a lot of people are, but even if you're on the fence, please give us some support and give us your ear, because I think it's just going to get much, much better. The writing and just kind of what we're building toward really starts to come into something that's I think going to really blow people away and be a lot of fun. So.
Without spoiling, and as you said, I mean, this is a chronicling of the history of Bitcoin.
Right.
So down the line, we'll get to present day and where we are in terms of adoption and use of Bitcoin and things like that.
Yeah, that's our goal. It'll probably take us a few years to get there, because even if we cover a couple years of history in the first season, which that's what we're planning to do. You still have a decade essentially of Bitcoin history that needs to be covered. So, maybe it's 2 or 3 years per season. That's going to take us 3 or so seasons to just get caught up.
Right.
But yeah, eventually it'd be great, if we had an audience that we could just continue to move into kind of present day and then, maybe be a little bit more in the direction of commenting on current, events and things that are happening. But again, there's just so much history to cover. We're going to start there and really give it a lot of love and care.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely worth checking out for anybody. There's social commentary, political commentary, economic commentary. Really a very interesting watch. It's available on YouTube. Bitcoin and Friends. Looking forward to the next episode. And so far, I think it's already proving to be a bit of a hit. Robert Allen, executive producer, thank you very much for joining us from Los Angeles. Of course, you can check us out as well on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, of course. Check us out, and we'll be right back.